All right, so a couple of things here just to start off with. I made a minor mistake last time. So we did a bunch of the sharing. I mean, the selling of all of your goods and doing all of that last time, and I'm fine keeping that. But one of the things that I made an error on was the prices that I gave you for selling to the traders. So what I want to do instead is we're just going to say you actually sold that stuff to Rufus.
Traveling merchants.
No. To Rufus and Byrne at the tower. And they gave you those rates because they needed more equipment, we'll say, for their men and stuff like that. So they bought those for you for that rate. But that's probably all they'll need from you. So, because I gave you great rates on that, great returns on those sales. And then I kind of wanted to take a step back a little bit, and we kind of just like really quickly played stuff out. But I do want to give an opportunity here to do a little bit of role playing, and I thought we could start actually at the tower, Rufus and Byrne's tower, back in. Get Roll20 open again here. Back in Hommlet, and because I'm assuming that you probably mostly, when you return back to the village, want to rid yourself of the couple of captives that you've taken, because you do have a few captives, and that you were going to sell them to Byrne. And I've already given you what the value is for that, but. Who wants to be a part of returning, taking the captives to Rufus and Byrne? Who wants to go do that? And it can be all of you.
Yeah, I'd be up for it.
I'll definitely go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm down too.
Yeah, I'm with the team.
Well, I'm sure everybody wants to be there when the money exchanges hands in front of JB.
I think we've. Excuse you.
Oh, by the way, have you seen my shirt here? I got this amazing shirt. It's AD&D backpack. I mean, I had to pick it up on Etsy.
I was just thinking we learned last time, or at least I learned last time, never split the party.
Yeah.
Did we split the party?
Yes.
I think JB split from the party. All right, so then the group of you head to Byrne and Rufus's tower, which is sort of in the south central part of the village of Hommlet. And I'm getting that map back over here, and so you guys can see it on Roll20. Sorry for those who are out there listening. Or watching this. It's kind of in the south central part of the town, and as you recall, there's a large construction site going on adjacent to where the tower is. They seem to be building a castle of sorts, and they're kind of in progress with that. And of course, the construction sounds are going on as you return. If I'm not mistaken, did you return kind of late? Was it at late afternoon? Does that sound about?
So.
Yeah, I think so.
It's about right. So the you're coming into town, and like the work crew is kind of finishing up their work for the day. Like as you get to the tower, and sort of like people are like packing up their tools. The foreman, they're collecting them in like this shed that is locked outside, and doing all that. And then of course the wizard's tower sort of has an interesting way of entry. You go up a flight of stairs that's not actually connected to the tower, and a drawbridge is lowered from the second story of the tower to this staircase in order to get in. And right now it is open, and there's a bit of back and forth amongst Byrne's badgers, his men, his sort of his mercenary company. You see several of them kind of going in and out of the in and out of the tower. Some of them have like, scrolls and they're making reports. You can kind of like hear them, sort of finishing the day, like what they got done and what's been going on. In the rest of the village, there are, you're smelling like a lot of wood smoke and food being cooked over, people's personal fires and things as it's getting to be evening and people are starting to put together dinner. And there is some traffic on the roads as people are kind of heading home or heading over to the Welcome Wench when you arrive. Unlike your first entry visit to the tower, however, you ascend the stairs and are, a couple of the guards sort of recognize you. They give you a nod, as you're sort of approaching the stairs. And one of them, in fact, I believe it was Ren that really spent some time speaking with him. The one who took in the cargo last time. You figure he's like a sergeant amongst Burns Badgers. He is kind of there. They have a sort of a storage area there, where they, last time, like where they took the goods and stuff. And he kind of sees you all approach. How are you? Describe the way that you all are handling the prisoners and transporting them into town.
I assume we got them roped up, right? Like convoying them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say yeah, exactly, like a convoy style rope. But me personally, Tucktron is not showing them any kind of like overt aggression.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's watching them, and ready to cut them down if they do anything stupid, but also, kind of respecting the soldier hustle. So
yeah, no cruelty, just
what?
Yeah,
Let
no
me
cruelty.
see.
business.
Let me see
Exactly.
something here. I'm gonna do a little roll for these guys. Okay, they're terrified of being brought to the wizard in Hommlet, to be sold to the wizard in Hommlet. Like, they're just like, who is this wizard? And like, it seems as though you've captured kind of a superstitious bunch. Luck of the dice. And so they seem to be really, like, as they're getting closer and closer to the tower, and as you're kind of like approaching the stair, they're convoyed together, but they try to make an escape. Like, they start trying to like definitely try to run out of your grasp. You have them tied up, there's guards everywhere, doesn't look good for them, but how would you like to respond as they start like desperately pulling at the ropes and trying to get away from you as you approach the tower?
I'm going to nick one of them on the earlobe. Not going to damage him all that much, but it's a reminder is stop it.
All right, they're moving pretty rapidly. You do have them tied up. A called shot of that level of complexity would normally be a -8, but I'm going to give it a regular roll to hit because they are tied up and you've got them under relatively good control. So make a roll to hit to see how effectively you cut the you get nick an ear, or if maybe do a little more or a little less.
14.
All right, so that's good. Yeah, so you do a good job. You just kind of like nick him in the ear.
Yeah, I'm not trying to like seriously hurt them. It's just sort of we see what you're doing, don't do it.
Yep. So you do that effectively. He reaches up or tries to reach up and grab his ear, but his hands are tied, so he's kind of like this. He falls to his knees.
And I lean close in. Stop struggling. Can you still hear me?
He's like kind of like babbling, basically, like, "Oh, stop," kind of like whimpering, I guess, and sort of pain as he falls to it. Really fear. It's not really like that you hurt him. He's just like inevitably about to be sold to a wizard, you think, and he's kind of like on his knees, crouched there. And then the sergeant who's nearby, who again, Ren, you kind of dealt with for the most part last time. He walks up and he kind of kneels down near you, JB, and where like the guard is, or where the prisoner is, like on his knees, and he says, and he kind of looks down and he shakes his head and he says, "It's kind of like looking in the mirror. I remember when I first came to Burnin, Rufus." And he says, "Get on your feet. You still have your pride." And he kind of grabs the man sort of underneath his arm and lifts him up. And he turns to you, Ren, and he says, "Rufus, Byrne told me that you might be bringing there was a chance you might be bringing some new recruits. I assume these are them, this lot."
Pretty much just shake my head at him. You know, not shake my head, nod my head at him. And it's like, yeah, hopefully these guys will do you good. At least I can be hopeful.
Yeah, he looks down and he's like, "Well, they might not look like much now. And maybe they are nothing at all, but we'll see." And then he kind of motions a couple of the other guards who pick the guys up, but they're kind of like laughing a little bit, like kind of like smirking at each other, almost like it almost feels like a hazing. It almost feels a little bit like, well, not hazing, like they're still keeping them in ropes and stuff, but it doesn't look like they're like, I mean, they might take some beatings, but
Good.
they're not trying to get, like, they're not going to torture these guys or anything like that. It seems like they're going to treat them like, well, new to the mercenary crew kind of folks. As they take them away, the sergeant says to you, "Head on up and Byrne will give you what you're owed, and I understand we're taking this equipment as well. He'll pay you for that." He gives you like a receipt, basically, that has all of the details on it. And he says, "I think he has something else he wants to talk to you about as well."
Well,
Head on up.
Yeah,
Inside?
well,
Yeah.
let's go.
Let's do
let's
it.
go.
I'm following in the rear.
Good. I have a lot of stuff on my computer screen today, but I kind of want to just have this in front of me in the actual book right now. Sometimes it's just best to have the physical book in front of you.
You're
It just
not
feels
wrong.
right.
I agree.
Yep.
So you head on up. Sure enough, you see that long table. In fact, if you have your Roll20 available, I will switch on over to the interior of the tower so you can be reminded of what it looks like. Wait a second, is this right? Yeah, this must be right.
That's right.
Now, Elisar, has he been here before? Into the tower? Does he know the wizards?
Yeah, Elisar, I don't know. I don't think we established that. Did we, Adam? Adam? You there? Hello? Hello? Well, we'll say that he is currently occupied at the Welcome Wench.
Mm.
And so, yeah, so you see the room, and for those who can't see the map, if you're watching this or listening to this, it's a circular chamber. The tower is a circular tower. It's got sort of two levels to it, and like one main structure and a second more slender structure built on top. The area that you all walk into has a long, heavy wooden table that is horizontal to the door entry, and then it's surrounded by chairs, but there are two very special chairs, one belonging to Byrne, one belonging to Rufus, which is definitely in line with their own personalities, with Rufus's being rugged and that of the sort of fighter, gruff warrior, and Byrne's being of elven design and sort of opulent in its design. And he's sitting there right now. In front of him are a bunch of basically papers and a journal, and he has a little assistant with him, like a clerk. And you figure he's at this point kind of taking in all of the reports that he's received. You know, sort of the end of the day reports are like covering his table. So he is very animated. He's talking quickly to the clerk, and you don't see Rufus anywhere. Rufus isn't around. But he doesn't really kind of pay much attention to you. One of the guards that was inside the door as you walked in, although you were allowed in, he kind of moves up as you walk in and walks over to Byrne and whispers into his ear, which none of you hear. And then Byrne looks up, the wizard Byrne looks up. You know, he's got his archetypical wizard's hat on, wizard's robes. He looks up and he says, "Oh, welcome back. You made it after all."
Barely.
He looks around and he says,
Yes, we did.
I count as many are here today as the last time we met.
Well, we left with a few more, but it turns out they were
Scumbags.
not there to help us for sure.
Yeah, they turned on us.
Ah, you're beginning to understand the true nature of Hommlet, then. Trust me when I say there will be more to unravel. He laughs.
Anything you can enlighten us on?
He says, isn't it much more fun when... Learning is much more effective when it's done directly.
Yeah, he just pretty much said we can't trust him either.
That's what I took from it. Yep.
Yeah.
He says, then you're right to do just that. He says, I see you've got a receipt.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
All right, so he takes the receipt and he gives you all the money, which we already discussed last session. I think you guys got paid for all of that, did you not?
Yeah, we did.
I think after it was all said and done, we got 148 gold pieces in the bank.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that was it. You guys kind of worked that out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was like 140 split and then 100 gold in the party pot. But
Okay.
like, also 20 gold each because of from the prisoners. I think.
Yeah, because the prisoners
like-
were 100 each, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like
There was 3,
Um,
so
Yeah, I've got written down that we got 24 from
it was like
each for
43
something.
gold each or something.
24 from something.
Yeah. Okay. So it's
I mean, you
100 in
guys
the bank.
basically just totally scam me right now because I wrote nowhere how much he pays for for these prisoners.
I thought it was 50 per prisoner, to be honest.
Yeah, 50,
Yeah.
50,
It was 50.
platinum
It was-
pieces per.
It-
Oh, 50 platinum. There
Yeah.
you go.
Mhm.
There you go.
I wrote it down when he said that it was like equivalent to 20 gold per party member, basically, for all the prisoners combined. But I don't know.
I think I remember.
But
20
I just
gold
really want to
pieces.
say, Bud, you get 50 XP. That's you get 50 XP for that. Yeah, I think it's so 50 each. Then there was 3, so 150 divided by. Well, you're doing a 6 share.
Yeah, it was 5 at the time when we first discussed it, I think, but we added a person, so we're now at 6. Is that what happened?
Oh yeah, and then are you doing a 7 share? Do you have a party share? Or are you
Yeah.
splitting it that way?
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
we're
you know,
doing
do it however you want. I
Yeah.
don't care. I don't want to keep track of your gold and treasures. Like,
Yeah, we
it's on
definitely
you.
did a party
I
share.
did 7 split. Yeah, it's only
Don't worry,
fair.
I'm keeping track of my gold.
Oh, I know you are. It's fun to play the greedy thief, though. I love playing that. It's fun.
Listen, the greedy thief has got me to level 3 already, so
I know.
Mhm.
And almost killed
and
more than
almost
once.
exactly.
Mhm.
I don't know if I was almost killed by the snake, but it wasn't fun.
The living on the edge aspect of playing a thief is really fun to me. I
Yep.
love that about it. All right, so he says he looks to you, and he he has the clerk count out the money, gives you a bag, gives you everything that you're owed. He says, there is something that you could help me with, which I think might be of benefit to you financially, but also perhaps it might be of benefit to you in the politics of this town.
Mhm.
He says, in the north of the village, there has been in the hills, a wyvern has been spotted. Killed a few cattle, killed a horse the other day, and a pair of adventurers went looking for it, never returned.
Mhm.
But that's not why I care about that, of course. And he kind of gives a smile. He says, I look at this as an opportunity. I am interested in getting a hold of some wyvern eggs for a magical experiment I plan on conducting. He says, I would be willing to pay you 500 gold pieces for each such egg, if you'd be willing to search it out for me. And then he smiles and says, and I think that maybe the town, if you were to speak to the council, and he gives you a little wink, might be willing to give you a bit more on top of that if you kill the beast.
Mhm.
Do a good bit to get you some goodwill with Hommlet as well.
Wyvern.
This is definitely something worth looking into.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He says, well,
It's out there.
it's
could be
not
danger to
too
us, not
far
just the
from
town.
here. Yes, he says it's not too far from here, but it will require a bit of a journey. Maybe half day. He says it's north of the town in the most heavily forested and hilliest areas, between the low road and the road that goes between Hommlet and Verbabank. But beyond that, he says you do possess a certain unique skill set at finding creatures in the wilderness. And he looks to you, Ren, as he says that.
I feel like they'd find us.
Well, Ren's like the obvious ranger, so. Anyway,
Mhm.
I leave it to you. No doubt you have other business to attend to as well.
Hmm.
Yes,
Resting
well,
up a little. Certainly.
And I do appreciate the new recruits. The offer stands still. We'll take any that you can get.
we'll keep that in mind.
I asked him about the adventurers, if they were under his charge. Did he hire them to go?
No, just a pair of adventurers I had heard that had inquired about the situation at the Welcome Wench and took off. I didn't meet them myself.
So you didn't ask them to get any eggs? You
No.
didn't talk to them at all? All right.
How big are these eggs? Do you happen to know?
They're
You can
I
go.
mean-
Your
if
character
someone
might
else,
know.
if someone else knows, because
Yeah, I mean, Ren, you might know. Like, you
Yeah.
I have.
I've heard they're about probably about the size of your head, but a little bit oblong.
As a wizard, would I have any clue as to what he might be wanting to do with these eggs?
I mean, like, wyvern eggs definitely possess some magical powers. I mean, they're ancestrally
They're wyvern
related
eggs.
to, yeah,
Oh,
to
I turn around
dragons.
and Elisor walks in the door.
Yeah. You were away, it seemed, for a moment,
I was
Adam. We
with-
couldn't get a hold of you, so you were at the tavern. But yeah, yes, you've come into the city, back into Burns tower, and he's kind of talking to you about all this stuff. Yes, you would know that like, for potentially creating like potions or other magical devices, things like that, this could certainly be a component of some powerful magical spell or construction, definitely. But go ahead and make a spellcraft check, just so that way I confirm if that's true or not.
I don't have spellcraft.
Oh, you don't have any spellcraft? Okay. Anybody that has spellcraft, just go ahead and make that roll, because you would be hearing this information, and it would just naturally occur to you because you have spellcraft.
See, now I want to meet with Jaru, the druid there, to discuss with him if he's heard anything about this wyvern in the area, and what benefits and negative aspects it could have on the environment there.
I made up my spellcraft, by the way.
Yes, good scores. That would be a good source for that. Anyway, as you can see, I'm very busy. I believe our business is concluded.
One last thing, Burn. You happen to have anything that you could give or lend us to help us safely carry these eggs back to you? It would be a shame if we got a few and they ended up breaking on the way.
God, I like that. I like this sort of persuasion kind of thing, because he's already paying you 500 gold pieces so you can buy your own damn sack. But at the same time,
I mean, I assume payment on delivery.
go ahead and roll me a charisma check.
For charisma checks, I got to roll under that, right?
Equal to or under.
Equal to or under. All right, so I got to be.
What I'm really looking here is a comparative things, like how much do you make it by in comparison to your.
Rolled a 4. So I made it by 7.
That is pretty great.
I mean, honestly, I was actually also asking for myself because I had no idea.
All right, so yes, he says, yes, of course, I wouldn't want these eggs to break. He says, I'll have them. Are you staying at the Welcome Wench right now?
I think we'll be staying at the Welcome Wench before we head on out.
I'll have them brought to your quarters then.
All right.
Chests of sort. They'll be a bit bulky to carry, but it's just the terrain that you travel does offer the possibility of going by horseback.
That's good to know.
If you choose.
Well, I mean, if they're bulky, he's definitely going to get them back, but
We'll make it work.
yeah, we will.
Before I go, do you happen to have any weaker spell scrolls that you'd be willing to sell for
I do.
a spot?
It's something that I, in fact, do offer. Are there some specific spells that you're looking for?
Ones that would help us die less, preferably.
All right, I know
utility.
exactly what I'm gonna do. Well, here's what I randomly have according to random rolls.
Amazing.
That's the way
Cloud
to do it.
kill.
I don't
Powered kill.
want to. I don't want to influence the outcome of things by
Wish.
giving into my like for my desire for you to succeed.
Well, can I use a plot point?
Plot points I consider adding to almost every game. I just think it's so good.
Yeah. Just don't roll to give this random NPC a wish scroll, because it'll.
7, 9. All right, so he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay, he's gonna have 4 spells, 4 first level spells.
Not even the 4 of these things.
Okay, I'm going to give them to you in just a second. Role play amongst yourselves.
Hmm.
maybe
We should
if
definitely
we
stop by the shop to get some sacks.
What if we bought
These
a cart
backpacks.
and lined it with a bale of hay, and then we could put the eggs in that?
That'd work.
From the terrain that I'm thinking, I don't think a cart would be a very good idea, unless we leave it someplace probably at the bottom of the hill. Not actually sure, but
Is like forest your favorite terrain?
yes.
Okay,
Mine is
I'm just
too.
gonna tell you, you kind of know this area then. Like,
Okay.
I mean, like it's essentially the South Cron Hills, and you know this area. Like, I mean, you don't necessarily like you've been in it, but you would definitely, would like be able to make very good educated guesses about what to expect. And it's basically, it's like kind of rolling hills, with the occasional sort of, deeper drops like rocks and things like that, and some small caves in it. And then there's some sort of sparse tree cover. But riding is definitely possible because like the you can kind of move about and in the valleys between the hills and things like that.
Right, but getting it.
But you're probably
cart
right. A
close.
cart would be like, there isn't really like a road, but for like a horse or like a narrow, even marching is pretty not hard,
Mm-hmm.
We have a chest unless we sold it.
No,
It
we
held
didn't
all-
sell that thing yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think you sold the chest.
we have that chest that held all that copper.
We took that chest, the big one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, a bunch of hoarders. All right.
What do you think this is? Like murder hobos and treasure thieves.
Carry 2,000 copper
that's just
coins
me.
around. That's
This
crazy.
game, this adventure came out in 1985.
Yeah.
We're playing some old school shit right now.
That needs a full plate.
Well,
Can I
All right,
ask
so he
Learn-
says-
I can
he says
imagine
in-
us. We're dragging people with us. And 2 of us are holding this chest. Oh,
No, we made the prisoners carry the
This is
chest.
so first edition.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. There you go. All right, so he says, in fact, looking at my records right now, I've come across 4 different scrolls of what I believe you would be able to cast. That of Chill Touch, one of Hold Portal, a Hypnotism scroll, and an Armor scroll. I believe 2 of you here might have interest in casting.
All you
The
guys.
chill touch, hold portal.
Hypnotism and Armor.
I was hoping he would have unseen servant,
Unseen Servant's
Mhm.
great.
because then
Yeah.
we could distract the wyvern. I cast unseen servant to go get the eggs.
And
Yeah.
how much would you need to part with these?
Let me check out my Dungeon Master's guide for my pricing. Let's see here.
Let me consult
Check
the
the
Oracle
local exchange rates,
What's
yeah.
out of DMG?
Yeah, let's see here. Okay, here. Maybe this is it. Scrolls and potions. It does not tell me
I'm gonna
anything
find out
about
what the
how
rules
much
are
they
from
cost.
learning spells from scrolls.
I think they're like per spell, per experience point, is what I used to do.
What do you
Don't
mean?
value whatever the experience point is for finding them.
Oh,
Experience point
right.
value.
That's right. That is
Yeah.
exactly right. Let me see. That's right.
Okay, just roll. It's my spell
Well,
engine.
I actually don't see that, Nick.
Let me see.
Find this for me.
They'll be under potion. I mean,
It's
if
under
he's getting
scrolls. I
scrolls.
looked at the scroll thing, but they're like all like. Let's see here.
Then you may have to go with whatever level they are per gold. Level 1, so much. Level 2, so
I
much.
kind of feel like, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I kind of feel like compounding from 100. So like 100, 200, 400, or even like more than that, 100, 200, 500, you know, like, and then adding to that any like special materials. Like, so if a spell requires 500 gold piece ruby, then it's going to be way more expensive. But I'll say 100 per. See why?
100 gold per scroll.
Yeah, does that seem reasonable to you guys? Does that seem like normal?
Yeah,
got-
yeah, it's
Probably.
D&D
kind of
before,
cheap to me, but go ahead.
Does it seem too cheap?
Well, these are like level 1 scrolls though, so
Yeah, but Burn really likes us, so he's going to give us a good deal.
Well, I'm just thinking it seems a little cheap, but then on the other hand, it's like if you think about like how much 100 gold is to like an ordinary person, that's a fortune just for like one single spell.
yeah, but this is
You know
Mage
what I mean?
Life, which is insane. So
Now, back in the day, scrolls were rare. That's the
Yeah, for
magic
sure.
is supposed to be rare.
I mean,
Roll
I'm up
closing
for
check.
putting it up. I'd love to find the rule. You know, I mean, like that's the.
The rule for scroll cost.
It doesn't. I can't find the pricing for it. It's got to be somewhere. Maybe in the Tome of Magic.
It's probably going to be your best bet.
Cost of research.
Just don't see anything about research though in the Tome of Magic. It's just like
No, scrolls take a long time to make. And you basically, when you're making a scroll, you can do nothing but that. That's your life.
Bet you Spells and Magic has something about it. God, this is so annoying. We're gonna say it's 100 until somebody finds something else. And if I find something else, I'll just charge you more next time. We'll just say this one time it's 100 per scroll.
Burn really likes us, so he's
Okay.
cutting
I
us a
mean, you
deal.
guys you just brought him some recruits. You just bought him some
And-
gear.
And this saves me from having to sweet talk him again. I was going to say something
And
along
maybe
the
he's
lines
trying to
of,
get you
yeah,
to go after this wyvern.
think about the benefit if your scrolls help defeat this wyvern. Isn't that worth it? The name recognition alone.
I'll sell them to you for 100 gold pieces if you promise that as soon as we do the transaction, you leave my presence.
Done. I'm leaving right now because I don't care about the scrolls.
All right, so do you want any or all of those?
I
can
can't
you
afford even one of them, so but it's like,
Well,
this
do you
gives me
wanna
more reason
combine?
to
I
get
mean-
some of those eggs.
But
You
there's
can
also
afford or you can't afford.
I've
Cannot.
got 50 gold. They're 100 gold each, so I can buy half of one scroll.
Which one are you eyeing, Gray?
Either hypnotism or armor. If hypnotism would work on a wyvern, that would be useful.
I love hypnotism from a wild mage. That just feels almost right, like just like moving around and acting like just I don't know. It's just a good fit.
You know what? Let's.
But I'm not trying to
And,
convince you one way or another. I mean, armor's a great first level spell. So
Here, how about this? I am going to do something completely out of my character. I will buy 2 of them for you. Because if you have
Mhm.
spells, that means that's a better chance that I will not die.
Yeah, hypnotism.
So pick your
JB's
two
playing the
favorite,
long
and I'll
game.
pay.
1d6
yeah.
creatures.
JB's hard-hearted. He's not being softy right now. He's just going to use it
Mhm.
against him later.
This is just a high yield investment for him. That's all.
Yeah. We do have 100 gold from the party pot. I don't know if you want to put this towards scrolls.
No, I'm serious. I will straight up give you 200 gold to keep my ass alive.
Thank you.
Also, JB is rich, so.
Yep. Comparatively,
that's incredibly generous of you.
I know. I'm
gold away.
I'm a humanitarian.
I shall make sure that if one of us is to die, I shall be the first.
Deal.
Is there any food on the table?
So
What's that?
hypnotism
Is there any
and
food on the
armor.
table? Or just paper?
No food. There is a pitcher there with, like, it's summertime right now, right? It's early summer, so there's like a light, like white or light wine. It looks like in a wooden pitcher. You can kind of see the condensation along the side of it, like dripping down. And there's like a glass there that's about half full of this like light colored wine.
But
Yellow,
no empty glasses there.
Yeah, there's a couple cups there. Yeah, there's a couple glasses.
I get myself a cup.
Okay. Burn looks up at you. Well, just help yourself then.
Why, thank you. Thank you very much.
Kind of shakes his head. He says, "You and Rufus would get along well." So, are we done with our transaction?
I think we're done with the transaction.
Or he gets the scrolls, he takes the money, and he says, "Now to complete the deal. Move along. Go on."
I do a slight nod of my head and follow the group.
I down my glass and walk out behind him.
All right, so you head on out, and by now, like, pretty much the work site is like closed down for the night. There's a couple of guys maybe like standing around at the edge. You can see a few maybe like walking down the main road, heading over to the wench, ready to get a drink, and kind of just blow off some steam after work. And other than that, like, the roads definitely have kind of like calmed down. There are a few of Burns' badgers you can see, like, they're gonna walk the perimeter of the construction site, it looks like, but right now there's still enough kind of action in the area that they're mostly just kind of like chatting with people. Again, you see the stacks of, or the plumes of smoke going into the air, even more so now, and the smells of everybody's cooking, which may or may not get your stomachs grumbling after a long travel and all of that. So what would you like to do?
Eat something.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely,
eating the rest is in order.
Want to go get a hot
rations
meal and
yeah.
then
Yeah.
kind of see what the local gossip is, and then definitely clean up and clean my equipment up. And
Please, nobody make more friends.
Yeah. While we're walking up to the winch, I'm just looking around to see if I see any of our old party members.
Aha.
Yeah.
Go ahead and make a perception check.
Hey, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
The XP value for spell scrolls is equal to the total spell levels contained on the scroll times 100. So if you have one spell per scroll, and it depends on the level, times 100. So if it's a second level, it's 200 gold. But some scrolls have 1 to 3 spells, set 6 spells. It all on how you roll on the chart.
Yeah, but XP value to gold value is usually a little different. Like, if you look at the charts that have like, this is this much XP and how much it would sell for, like in the first edition DMG and stuff, it's way off. But for now, I'm just saying they're 100. I'll look it up though. I think the first edition DMG might be the place to go to find it.
Your XP value for protection scrolls, the smallest one is 1,500, and it goes to 2,500.
I know, those are so powerful though. Those
Yeah.
are way more powerful than like a first level scroll. So I'm not really that worried about it. Especially since JB was generous. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so
Humanitarian.
I want to give Elisar a chance though, because I know Adam, you were mentioning, or Elisar was mentioning about the desire to go to the Druid. Did you want to also go to the Welcoming Wench, or did you have an interest in going to the Druid first?
I would. I'd rather go see the Druid to see, get his opinion on this, see what information I can get on a wyvern being in this area.
Okay, sounds good.
I did make my spellcraft, by the way, on.
Oh yeah, just count yourself. I gave you the information. You got that information then, and just make sure you give yourself a proficiency tick.
No more ticks.
Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the stupid here, what am I doing? I'm like running like a D&D like an amateur right now. Oh, for sure.
Well, max spells per level means like max spells of each level of spell, right? So if it's like...
Yeah, so if it's like 10, that's the most of those spells that you can have in your spell book and learn.
So it'd be like 10 level 1 spells, 10 level 2 spells, and so on. Yeah.
Yep.
That's I can't.
Now, see, could he take that scroll and write it into his spell book and have that spell?
Yeah.
I'm going to say,
morning.
so copy does it automatically right away, but I think it does take a little bit of time. But yeah, of course, like, as far as I'm concerned.
After this, I will do that in the morning. I got to memorize read magic to do it. So it'll be tomorrow.
All right, is anybody else going to... So you start heading up through town, and, you know, as you do, you... Let me get back to the... I'll get you guys back on the Village of Hommlet map in Roll20. So for those who can't see the map, you know, if you're listening to this or watching this, basically the Wizard's Tower and Burn and Rufus's Tower and the construction of the new keep that they're building is in the southeast corner of Hommlet, basically. So you take this main road and it heads into town. And, you know, you pass by a few businesses, which are mostly getting shut up now for the night, and eventually make your way in sort of a town center area. That is where you see the Welcoming Wench, the Welcoming Wench Inn, the Inn of the Welcoming Wench, I should say. And, you know, there's lots of people now kind of milling about out front. You can hear a lot of, you know, activity inside. At this point, I'm going to say like the sun has dipped behind the trees, so there's still some sunlight, but the sun is no longer shining. Lamps are starting to get lit. You can see the warm light pouring out from the Welcoming Wench. Then the road continues north and south, and to the north is where the road will eventually hit the Druid's Grove and Jaru, I believe, even though I can't find it anywhere on the map. I'm just going to say that that's the case. Yes, so kind of in the area nearby, kind of heading up to the Church of St. Cuthbert, if you remember when you first entered the town, in the very sort of northwestern portion of the town, sort of opposite of where the tower is, was the Church of St. Cuthbert, and that was sort of a newer construction. So at this point, you are kind of standing in front of the Welcoming Wench. You smell the food, you smell the ale, the good-natured fun of people that are coming out there. You may who of you is going to the Welcoming Wench, and who of you is putting off the delights of the inn to go and talk to the Druid?
Nerd.
Going to the wench.
I'm going to go around town and give a 10% tithe of what I gathered from my treasure to the poor.
I'm gonna go to
Okay.
the winch and give a 10% tithe to the people who work there, and pour my ale.
That's 19 gold I'll have to give for my tithe.
Okay, that's awesome. You want to give it to the poor? I mean,
I could give it to
you
the
could
Church
give
of
it to the
St.
Church of
Cuthbert.
St. Cuthbert and say, and it would be, I think, fair to just say, because they have a program working for the poor, and say like, I want this specifically to go to the poor or whatever.
And I'd also like to see if I could refill my healer's bag at that church.
All right.
Or do I need to go purchase?
No, I want to play that out with you a little
Okay.
bit. We'll do a little scene. Is anybody else? Elisar is going to go to the druid. Anybody else? JB and Tucktrin, it sounds like, are certainly heading into the inn of the welcome wench. What about Greyash and Ren?
I think I'm just going to the inn.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go to the grove.
Okay.
I'll go with Elisar.
Okay. So, Brother Rygar, you head up to the church. Elisar and Ren, you head to the Druid's Grove. And JB, Tucktrin, and Greyash are embraced by the loving arms of the Inn of the Welcoming Wench. We'll get back to you, but I'm going to start with the smallest group first and build up to the larger group. So, Brother Rygar, you head north. You follow along and go really up to the top of the highest sort of point, other than the higher levels of the tower, but the highest point north, the highest point of the village of Hommlet. And it really is beautiful because the sun is setting, and especially given your faith, the last moment sort of the sun, and it's just shining down across the valley. And you've seen some kind of corruption in town, and you've seen you've heard there's this monster, this wyvern, and there's some sort of something going on that seems pretty bad about the moat house. And you just can't help but think this place is worth saving. You just see the way the sun, it's almost your God's blessing is just upon the land, as you see it sort of crest over. And then you kind of have that moment, and then this, the sun peaks last moments behind the trees, so you kind of lose that golden moment, and you end up seeing the heading back to the church and really kind of taking a look at it for the first time. You passed by it before, but this is kind of the first time that you're really going in to explore. At that time, you had been a long overland journey, and everybody was kind of eager to get rid of your stuff that you had delivered. And there's basically a large sort of central, it's kind of an H-shaped building, and there's a large dome which is kind of holds the temple itself. The grounds are very organized. Every hedge is exactly in its place, and there's clearly a path around it. There's a small garden with some fruits and vegetables and things like that, and it's in these perfect linear kind of design. In fact, you kind of see a couple of probably lay worshippers are there, kind of finishing up, looks like they're getting ready to gather some food from the garden, fruits and vegetables, and prepare to bring it down into the town, maybe to give it to those who need food, or who are hungry or whatever. But ultimately, you end up seeing the priest, who I don't think you've met before.
I don't think so.
Let's see here. So he's got like work clothes on, but he's still wearing this like kind of like floppy hat, which is sort of a symbol of Saint Cuthbert, just sort of hanging off the side of his head, and you know, you can tell he's in charge, mostly because he's kind of telling people what, and not in a mean way, but like he's definitely in charge. He's like telling people what to do. He's getting the lay people. He's sort of giving instructions to lay people as you're out there. You know, certain windows are being closed by other lay people, and they're kind of like changing the church over from its daytime, like always open, to nighttime sort of process. And he sees you, and you know, you kind of he turns towards you for the first time, and you actually see that all he's got his like kind of like work robe / like kind of cloak outdoor with like the sleeves. Underneath, he's actually wearing armor.
Yeah.
And he has, although he's got like a basically a small garden hoe in one hand, and it's on his side is a sword hangs from his side. A cudgel hangs from his side. So he's like got a weapon as well, that you notice as he turns towards you, and he says, "Pilgrim, I believe you came to town just over a week ago or so?"
Yes. Could I use religion to see what his station is, so I know his
yeah, sure.
title?
Yeah.
I got
Good
it.
Idea. Let's see here. He is so you kind of look up and down, and he's definitely a frontier priest. Like, he's somebody that maybe has shown promise in the priesthood and shows some like natural connection to St. Cuthbert, but who is probably not like that far along in his career. And so he's going out into this like frontier to sort of spread St. Cuthbert, and kind of make a name for himself, you know, sort of move up the ranks, you might say. So probably a little further along than you, but not all that much, you know, in his own faith. Like, he'd be just a little couple ranks maybe higher than you.
I give him the courtesies that he deserves. I'm like, yes, I did come here a few days ago, and I was just wondering if I could drop off a tithe to help with the poor.
He says, "Of course, we always welcome our allies of the worship of Nola into our church. Come, brother." He says, I haven't caught your name. I am Kalmar.
I am Brother Rygar.
And he gives you kind of like the, you know, almost like the warrior's handshake.
Yeah.
He says, "Come. Yes, the work we do with the poor is one of the main things that we do in town. One of the main ways we've been able to help, especially with all the workers now. It's putting a bit of a strain on the region, and in working with Jaru, the druid, we're trying to keep a bit of a balance between the growth here and nature coming in. So we're trying to do our part, doing a bit of growing food. We've befriended the miller as well. We're getting extra deliveries of bread these days from the miller's wife."
I have decided to help rid this area of all its evil, especially the undead. And as I was walking, Nola did give me a sign that says I'm on the right path with the beautiful sunset that she made. So I may be here from time to time. And I was also wondering if you had any ideas of people with crops that aren't doing so well. I can go bless them That's one of my main duties, to help them grow. And if there's anything out there like that.
Yeah, he smiles and he says, "Truly, brother, you have seen one side of this sign, but I see the other. I find it fascinating that you had such a sign shown to you while you stood on the very precipice of the Temple of St. Cuthbert. Surely that shows that you and I should have some partnership here. I'd be happy to help you in finding those who are in need of such work. I'll keep my eyes out. Come visit me when you're back in the village again within the next week or so. I should have some information for you." He says, "In the meantime, your donation will go well to the poor. The miller's wife does a lot for us in making the bread, but the miller can only afford to give us so much for free.
Yeah.
So for the rest, we must, of course, pay coin. So this will make sure a few more bellies don't go to bed empty tonight."
Well, it was good to meet you.
Good to meet you as well.
I'll let you get back to your work, and I was wondering if I could replenish my healer's bag, or
Of course,
if
yes.
you had any healing spells I could purchase.
He says, "I do have some scrolls."
Okay.
Let's see here. He says, "I have 3 scrolls right now of the sort of the simplest prayers that I know, and I have one of the level of inspiration that challenges me the most." He says, "The first I have let's see. I have Bless, Cure Light Wounds, and Command available as scrolls. And then I also have the scroll, which is much more powerful, of Silence 15-foot radius."
Okay. How much is that command spell?
100 gold pieces.
I'll go ahead and get that one.
He would probably say like 100 golden crowns or something like that. All right, yeah, he hands it over to you. Yeah, as you make the transaction. He says, "It is. If only I could, of course, I would give this to you as a brother to brother. But as you know,
Oh, yes.
helping those find their way has its costs, and helping those who are part of our community has a cost as well. Know that your money will go to good use, though."
I'll let you get back to your important business here, and thank you for your time. And I'll probably be staying in the what's the name of the place down there, the Open Winch, if you need my services at any time.
He nods. He says, "In fact, the high priest of this temple, my superior, is at the Welcome Wench now. Apparently there is some sort of council meeting happening.
Okay.
His name is Turjon. Be sure to introduce yourself to him.
I will.
Tell him that I wish that you two should meet."
No more strays.
And I'll head back towards the winch.
All right. Elisar and Ren, the two of you head on over to, actually really quick, for those who are at the wench, I'm going to give you a little teaser and then I'm going to move over to Elisar. JB, Tuctrin, and Greyash, the 3 of you head into the wench. And you're kind of chatting, you're just looking forward to going and getting a drink and getting something to eat. And you move in and you walk in and you realize that nobody is really talking except for this group of 5 people, sort of, who have gathered kind of around this table, and everybody is like there listening to these 5 have this conversation. And there's and I'll describe them in a minute. But there is generally kind of an air about this music is found. I feel like I'm in like a corporate commercial or something right now. I have to move beyond it. Whew.
And on the wall there's a poster that says inspiration.
I know, seriously, that was terrible.
It was pretty bad.
Let's see. Here, this is. Put it on this. And let me set this really quick.
I'm feeling like this is a new adventure group that's coming in, talking about what they're going to do, and everyone else is listening in to figure out who wants to backstab them first.
That's not what it is. All right, so so you head on,
Actually, Zert's 5 brothers.
and you see a man who is in plate mail armor. He's got like a floppy hat on, looks very stern. He's got these like this blondish mustache. He's probably like in his early 40s, but he looks like very physically fit, like takes fitness really seriously. He has a sword at his side. He's there. There is an elderly man. It looks like he's a farmer, but the way he stands, like he definitely stands like a former soldier or something. The way, like he has this sort of confidence about him. He's like an old farmer. He's got his skin is all like wrinkled and sunburnt, but he definitely has like an internal fortitude that you can see about him. Osler, the innkeeper, who you've known before, you've come here before. He's sort of a doughy man, but thick with curly hair. Is leaning against a table in the middle of the group, and his daughters and his wife are still bringing around drinks, but most people are kind of ignoring the drinks right now. And then a kind of thick, like, working man who's like got these massive forearms. He's just really big up top. He's kind of chubby too, but he's like really big up top. Just got this, sort of 5 o'clock shadow across his face. Kind of a hardened look, very serious. Like his face is like his smile is kind of like just a line across his face. And then the man who Ren actually, you all saw him go over and talk to him briefly, but kind of this like bigger, floppy looking drunk guy, except for like now he doesn't look like he's drunk at all. And he's kind of like sitting there with the group of them, hard-eyed, arms across his chest. And you notice that he just doesn't look so slovenly as he did when you saw him a bit ago. And you also recognize a couple of other people in there. You see Spug Noir and all that, but we'll get back to you in a second. Elisar and Ren, the two of you head on up to the Druid's Grove. And let's see here if I can actually find this grove. Okay. So the grove, as you approach it, it's obviously a place of worship. The trees are really neatly pruned and the grass is well tended, but it's not like impeded, like it's pruned and tended in a way that allows for it to grow in its most natural and advantageous ways. And there's a line of bluish stones that have kind of been created to make a path into the grove. And it's leading to a rock cairn where there are flowers and nuts and berries and garlands of leaves, like all placed around this cairn. And beyond that, there's a path that continues on to the shrine. And there's a low wooden building underneath the great boughs of the central oaks of the copse that makes up the grove. And as you can see, there's kind of like a place where you could like kneel or sit and be sort of protected from the rain, but still be pretty much in nature. And amongst that, as you sort of walk into the grove, you see a relatively young man. He's probably like in his early 30s. He seems pretty fit human. He's got a cloak that's made out of really sort of rough fabric, you might say. Not that it's not finely made, but it's not really like made necessarily for comfort. It's like really blends into the environment. Does have a hood, which he has down right now. He's got, short cropped dark hair. His beard is, however, quite big. But he looks like he's probably in his early 30s. He looks pretty fit. And as you sort of move into the grove, he just kind of gives you a smile and a nod, assuming that you're there to do, your own worship or business. And, kind of gives you the look of, I'm here if you need me, but he doesn't say anything directly. What would you like to do?
I get down, I kneel on one knee, and I tell him that I made contact with the group as I was instructed by him at the moat house, and there's hints of sinister activity going on at the moat house, but we've returned to town, and Byrne is wanting us to find a wyvern's nest in the forest north of town, and to take the wyvern's eggs for research that he's interested in, or he has some sort of magic he wants to use it in some way, in some form for magic. And I have some misgivings about this.
He walks over to her too, and he kind of he kneels down to be even with you, actually, and he puts his hand on your shoulder and he says, "My fellow walker of the forest, don't feel as though you must kneel before me. Come, we speak as friends." He says, "I am glad that you have brought this one with you of the group that you speak of. I have heard of his prowess in the woods. I think that he might find a natural fit here as well." He says, "Perhaps an introduction is in order?"
Yes, this is my companion, Ren, who was in the group, in the party.
I don't say anything. I just nod at him.
Yeah, Jaru nods his head kind of like deeply and gives you a smile. He says, "Well, welcome, fellow woodsman." He says, sorry, spam phone call. He nods his head deeply and he says, He says, I appreciate you bringing me this information, but he says, and he says, wyverns are an interesting creature. He says, on the one hand, they are natural in some way. On the other hand, they are sinister in the way that they interact with nature. They will kill and destroy things simply for their own pleasure, and will deplete an entire region of the animal life, sucking it dry until everything is dead. Says, it doesn't bring me pleasure to say that in this case I would agree that with Burns' assessment that maybe this is a good idea to rid this region of such a creature. Kind of looks sad, but looks you directly in the eyes. Both, but you, Elisar, specifically.
Do you have any knowledge of what a wyvern is?
Oh yes, it is a fearsome creature. Some say an offshoot a bit of a dragon, but it's so different. It's more serpent-like, winged, and flies. But those are the merest trifles to its tail. The deadly stinger, somewhat shaped like a deadly wasp's, but much bigger. Can stop your heart with one strike. Powerful poison. A fearsome creature. Stay far away if you intend to kill it. Engage close up, only if absolutely necessary.
Well, I'm inspired.
Do you have anything that could help me protect myself and my companions from such a loathsome beast?
You're gonna get an XP bonus for the end of this because that was really great. He says, because he actually does. He says, in fact, I do. I have one scroll of neutralized poison. Since it is a powerful scroll, and I would request that you make a donation to the temple, should you wish to take on such a scroll and take on such a quest. He says, but I could sell you this. I could part with this for such a donation. So this is a 3rd level spell. I feel like it would be like, I feel like that would be like 500 gold pieces, wouldn't it? Doesn't that feel right? What do you think, guys? 500 for a 3rd level spell scroll?
It's 4th level in 2nd.
Is it really?
It's 4th level in 2nd.
Well, I'm running the 1st edition module exactly as written, so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I will say it's a 4th level spell in 2nd. If it is, then it's a 4th level spell.
I tell him, I reach into my belt pouch, and I tell him I have all the riches that Obadiah allots me to have, and I place my one long single gold piece.
Ooh, that's good. That is good.
He smiles. And he says, I admire your belief in your abilities, but he says, perhaps you aren't experienced enough yet to take on such a challenge. I think it's best that I maintain this scroll for now.
Oh. Very well then. It is. Will be with my faith in Obadiah alone that I protect my newfound companions and rid the forest of this beast.
He gives you that deep nod that he gave to Ren when you introduced him. He says, "Please feel free to stay if you wish, and pray and leave any gifts that you have for the forest at the altar." And he kind of steps away. And you can tell he's kind of like, I wouldn't say watching you like in a obtrusive way, but he moves away and he's kind of doing stuff around the grove, but he's making sure that he's aware of you, ostensibly so that way that if you need him, he can come running over. But do either of you want to do anything like at the at the shrine or anything like that itself?
Well, as for me, I know where they're staying. I'm going to spend the night in this grove, praying to Obadiah for his blessings and protection on this quest.
Okay. It's only like, at this point, it's like maybe 6:30 or 7 in the evening. So, I mean, it's like you're welcome to stay here as long as you'd like, but it's not necessarily like sleep time.
Well, I mean, I would pray most of the, I would pray most of the night, into the night, and then he would prefer to probably sleep in the grove than in the field.
Okay, all right, that's fine. And what about Ren?
I go down and probably kneel at the altar. I mutter my own little prayer pretty quietly. I actually pull out the aspen skin that we got from the white smoke. I think it was white. And it's rolled up pretty nicely. And I just lay that before the altar, even though it's kind of an abomination, but kind of not. I pretty much...
I mean, it was a natural creature.
Yes, but wasn't it a little bit bigger than normal?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a little bigger than normal.
Okay.
Can confirm.
I would say that, Ren, you'd probably... I mean, because when you were out there, for example, there was that really weird weather.
Mm-hmm.
You think that probably like the region, just seeing the snake, like the region, there's something weird about that place. Right. Yes, exactly. But it was probably like a normal snake that was overtaken by something, not like an evil spawn snake, or anything.
And it did attack us.
Yes.
Well, that's because somebody jumped into its nest.
That would have been nature. Anyway. I was a part of that. I agree.
Anyone you can walk away from.
Yeah. Anyway, I stand up and pretty much nod to, what do you call him? Jaru,
yeah.
Jaru. And I pretty much just walk back the way we came in.
All right, cool. And what about so where are you heading then now after you leave this area?
Oh, I'm going to the winch. I want some dinner.
That's what I thought. Okay. Let's see here. I'm trying to find a... all right. How about this? So everybody, other than, let's see here. Other than LSR, everybody's headed to the wench now. 3 of you will be there before Brother Rygar and Ren show up. It's halfway. It's a little more than halfway through the session. Why don't we take like a 5-minute break? Take like a bio break if anybody wants to grab a snack or whatever, and we will come back and we'll get basically into the wench, and everybody will be. Pretty much everybody will eventually be there. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right,
Sounds
5
good.
minutes.
We're going to get our winch on.
All right. Get the end of the welcome winch up in the maps.
And you got an interior for that?
Yeah.
Cool. I don't remember if you did or not. Yes. No, it looks familiar. Okay. Maybe.
Yeah, I wonder if I can. I cannot reveal areas. It's so crazy. Well, you're just gonna have to do some
Theater of the Mind.
Theater of the Mind, which is my favorite anyway. I prefer Theater of the Mind, but I think for maps, like dungeon maps especially, when you're not playing in person, you know, it's like if you're in person, you can have a map and somebody can draw it. But if you're like not playing in person, that's impossible. It's not even fair. So Nick, how's and actually I think, but I think you're playing in it too, right? How's Cthulhu going? The campaign, Saturday Morning Cthulhu.
Oh,
Well,
really good.
it's going good, but it's in Sunday afternoons.
Sunday afternoon, all right.
Yeah. It's going really well, I think. I've hospitalized one guy already. He had to make another character.
Yep, you're doing good, man. You're doing good. I don't mind getting killed in Cthulhu. I love it. I wish I could play
Yeah.
that campaign, man. It sounds awesome.
I
Now
think
you're
that-
streaming it, right? I mean, people are watching this. You're streaming it. Where can people see it? It's on YouTube, right?
I keep it private, and
Oh, okay.
and once
Nobody
I
can
post
see
it, you can go watch it. If it's posted in Discord, you can watch it.
Yeah, in fact, we should mention that people should join the Discord. I just really quickly, while we're waiting on other people, like, I mean, 50 people watched the last video of this one, and it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, that's not like a ton, but for a 5th session, because this is actually technically session 6, even though it's called session 5 because we had session half 1.5. But I mean, like, I mean, those are our people, man. Like, come join the Discord. You know, like, play in these games. I mean, you mentioned a couple new people joined up on the Discord.
Yeah, I've got a game Wednesday with them.
I know I want to play, but
I
7
think
o'clock.
40 of those views are Frank hate watching.
Probably.
When can you play?
I mean, the problem is that the kid doesn't go to sleep on a regular basis and like at a normal time, and so like we really can't rely on him going to sleep until 9 o'clock now during the weekdays, or during every night, and so that means we couldn't start playing until 9, and that's just too late because we have to like still go to sleep by like 11. So it's kind of impossible for us to do a game unless we have a sitter like tonight, like, and it usually, or a sitter or one of us watches the kid. So like tonight I can play because Gretchen is watching the kid. But Gretchen couldn't play, and we do play in a regular Ravenloft game that we both play in. But I think our last session is going to be this weekend. It's going to be on Saturday, like session.
What about
5th edition?
I play 5th edition. I've played some. I've had
I'm
fun
talking
with
about
it.
it's the Ravenloft campaign 2nd edition.
Oh, it's Pathfinder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't love Pathfinder, but I'm playing a really fun character. His name's Gort. In fact, the image is my image here. Let me see here. Like it's the image that is on my icon when I turn off my camera for Zoom. Yeah, so Gort is just a really fun. He's just a really fun character. He's just a brute paladin. I've Kyrie Jolith. He's actually a Dragonlance character in Ravenloft. He just does a shitload of damage with a 2-handed sword and his horns, so like every round, and that's all he does. He can fly now too. He's got boots of flying, so he like flies and chops things in the air. He's like he's just a total brute damage monster who's good at nothing else.
Ever since the 2nd edition Ravenloft box set came out, I'd always wanted to run a Ravenloft campaign. And my last gaming group, I decided to run a month-long one-shot, so to speak, in the month of October. And we did the 2nd edition version of the Ravenloft module.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If it's called like House of Strahd or something like that.
I found it to be exhausting.
To run a Ravenloft campaign, to try to get the theme and the atmosphere. And oh, I bet, yeah.
And it after we usually play 4, 5, 6 hour game sessions, and because we're live, face to face. And I would be whipped by the end of it, and I was like, I don't know if I can run a whole campaign like this.
Yeah, I get that, man. I mean, you have to be the right personality for it. I mean, Nick does awesome with Cthulhu. It always feels creepy. I don't think you really go overboard with the descriptors and stuff, but it feels like the terror always feels real, like in your games. Like the thing that is happening that is bad is gonna F you up. I always feel that. The one we had the Yeti thing, of the big Yeti monster chasing.
I wish we could have finished that.
But man, that thing was terrifying.
Yeah, I know.
The thing was so terrifying. And the mummy was good. The mummy one, and there was the one with Gretchen and I trying to do the sacrifice there at the end.
That's Dead Lights.
Yeah, but you always make it terrifying. I think, but I get that, Adam. I mean, like, I kind of ultimately default to like slightly heroic fantasy because I just like get exhausted by like trying to keep something like bleak and dark and gritty going for like that long. I'm just like, it's too hard.
Well, that's JB to a C, slightly heroic.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
That it took a toll on the players too.
I bet.
Because your regular D&D game, like here. We can go into the moat house, explore some, come back to town. Go back, explore some, come back to town. You really don't have that option in Ravenloft.
No.
Because even if you leave the haunted castle and come back to the village, where the village is haunted and dark too, you don't get that sunlight, darkness contrast.
Oh my god, man. That's cool though. I've always wanted to play that module just because it's so famous and everything. I own it and everything, but I just have never played it. But it's pretty much a copy, right, of the original, right? It's just like
it's a copy of the original. It's just instead of being for 5th through 7th level, it's for 12th through 15th.
Oh Jesus, okay.
They're really, I mean,
well, you had
like,
to because there was like dragons in the first one. Like there's like blue dragons, like and dragons were not nearly as powerful in 1st edition as they are in 2nd edition. So you can't just like have them fight blue dragons. Like they would just destroy a party. I mean,
Strahd is like a 20th level necromancer in this. So when he knows when on his spell list, it's got 1st level spells, this, and all necromantic 1st level spells. Then 2nd level, same thing, up to like, up until he gets into 4th or 5th level. Then he just doesn't know all those necromantic spells, but he knows most of them.
that's awesome though. That's cool though. I mean, that's an iconic villain and an iconic module. So did you make it through? I mean, I want to get back to this game, but I gotta know, did you make it? Did you finish it?
No, they didn't make it through. Because what happened was I had a caveat of all the players in the group, when they rolled up their characters for this one shot, they could only be human or half-elven, because they were all related to each other. And one of them was a paladin, his sister was a mage that was really a necromancer. And she was the one that Strahd took a fancy to. And then the other one was a thief. And the sister and the thief brother killed the paladin. And joined Strahd. So that's how that ended.
Well, I mean, they did make it to the end, I guess. Oh,
have you ever read the novels?
I've read the only one I read was the Lord Soth one. That's
Lord Soth hands it to him, dude. Strahd has nothing against Lord Soth. Or that elven guy. That elven guy raped Strahd.
Oh, man.
Yeah. He was like a half-elven vampire or something like that, but he came from Forgotten Realms. And he was much older than Strahd, and man, he beat the shit out of Strahd.
Strahd's cool though, man. Yeah, so I read the first Lord Soth book, it's the Dragonlance one. Like he comes over to. That's the one I read, and I have the second novel in like physical, the copy of it. I just haven't read it yet. Anyway, let's get back to this game. We've been dicking around with this stuff for a while. It's fun to reminisce about. That's one of the things I love about AD&D, like in 2nd edition and stuff. It's like it's so fun to reminisce because you just die all the time or crazy shit like that happens like regularly. All right, so first off, JB, Tuctrin, Grey Ash, 3 of you who have now been sitting here watching this game for about a half an hour, finally get to do something. The
it's been
3
great,
of you
though. Nothing's been trying to kill me.
have headed in to the Inn of the Welcome Wench. And you, as I mentioned, there are these 5 men all kind of run around in a circle. They're kind of like leaning against tables or sitting in chairs, all having this conversation, and like like basically everybody's kind of stopped to watch. I mean, not everybody, but like all of the locals. There's like, there's some merchants and stuff. They don't really give a shit what's happening, but maybe they're kind of listening in a little bit near the fringes. But like in the center is basically all of these guys talking. You do notice a few, like I mentioned. You see Spug Noir, the Sage's apprentice, who you traveled with, but he kind of wanted to give up adventuring life because he got beat over the head by the mercenaries, and so he ended up just kind of come back here, and he's kind of licking his wounds. He's just like kind of moping over a beer. And then Tucktrin, you played a card game with a couple of guys, and you recognize one of them, a guy named Furnock. Furnock of Ferd. He was playing cards with you, and he was doing well. He's not now. He's kind of listening in, leaning up against the bar, a smirk on his face. What would you like to do? Three of you who walk in and you kind of see this before you.
I'm gonna go up to the bar by where you said Ferg, right?
Yeah,
Ferg.
his name is Furnock of
Ferg. Furnock. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the bar where Furnock is kind of leaning there, listening, and I'm going to order a very stout drink, a big flagon of ale, and I'm going to listen at whatever he's listening to and see what's going on.
All right, and what about, let's do Grey Ash first. What about Grey Ash? We'll let JB not die for another few more seconds.
What do I feel like the mood is of the onlookers? Are they like curious, like concerned?
Make a perception. Maybe make a charisma check on this one.
A charisma check? Just kicking me in the balls, yeah.
Okay, you can make a perception. Make a perception check then. Make a perception check then.
I still failed. I rolled a 16.
Reading human emotion is the charisma stat, I think. Like, how do people feel? So you failed?
Yeah, I failed.
You're like looking around and you're like, oh, they look happy, or oh no, they look mad, or oh, you're kind of like, you're just not able to really clue in on like the overall mood. There's people you seem to be unsure in looking around.
Well, I will go to the bar. It's like, can you have food delivered to rooms?
Yeah, you walk over to the bar and the person kind of like holds up their hand and like leans in. He says, and like, shh, and leans up here. What about you, JB?
How many of these guys are there?
There's the main group is a group of 5.
Okay.
So it's the onlookers, there's probably another dozen who are like very engaged in the conversation, like very engaged.
Okay.
Like, they're kind of like, yeah, that's right, I agree, or no, like, what are you talking? You know what I mean? Like, they're engaged in the conversation. Like,
sure.
And then there's probably like, and then the rest of them are kind of like a mix of out-of-towners who don't really give a shit, or locals who do give a shit to a certain extent, but not as much as they just want to blow off steam after work. So they're kind of paying attention, but they're not like invested.
Okay, but
some might say.
The group that everyone's listening to is that 5.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're all sitting at one table?
They're like, so like, there's like the few rows of tables, right? And they're kind of like, they've kind of created like a sort of space in between a few tables. So like one is leaning against one table, one's leaning against another table. The older, there's the older farmer man is like sitting down in a chair.
Okay, so they're just talking directly to each other. They're not. Right. It's not like they're looking over maps or letters or anything like that. They're just talking to each other.
Yeah, like Osler, the innkeeper, he's like pulled up one of his stools and he's like sitting on his stools, arms crossed, like a rag in his, a a bar rag in his hand.
He's buffing the same part of the stable
Yeah,
for
exactly.
20 minutes now.
So he's kind of sitting there.
And are they trying to be quiet, or are they talking
Oh
loud
no,
enough that
no, they're
okay,
having
so
a
we
conversation that anybody can listen to.
Okay.
You know, who wishes to, although you have to probably like really concentrate if you're on the edges.
Okay. I'm going to walk close by past them, but not really. I'm not going to look over at them. I'm just going to listen as I pass them to the bar. Call
Okay.
over a bartender. Put 5 gold in front of them. Ask for a flagon of mead, and if you can please tell me everything you know about those 5. And I'm guessing 5 gold for that will cover it.
Yeah, so a youngish woman, you guess probably one of Osler's daughters, just by the way that she's, looks. She's like dark curly hair, somewhat, buxom and big boned. Got a big smile, pretty, but just kind of like, just like her father, but kind of more all business. And she says, well, she says, that's the town council. Well, most of them. You're missing Jaru, and, well, of course you're missing Byrne and Rufus, considering they're talking about them. And he said, you got Turgeon, the high priest of the Church of St. Cuthbert right there. And then she points to the man in armor. And then she says, that old farmer over there, that's Lar. That's Elmo's father. And he points to the guy who looked like the big drunken barfly, but now obviously not. That's his son Elmo. Lars Elmo's father. He's captain of the militia. Osler, of course. Points to her father. My dad. She smiles. And he says, that's Mitch, the miller. He grinds flour, and his wife bakes bread for the entire village.
Yeah, she does. Thank you.
And by then, she's also got your flagon. What's down at the table?
Thanks, hon. I appreciate that.
Said, I'll get you some food too. Just sit pat.
I appreciate you.
And so at that point, Gray Ash, you were there first, but JB threw 5 gold pieces on the table, and
no, I'm the favorite.
You're like trying to get attention again, and she just like walks right by you after, and you and JB's eyes meet like across the bar.
I just shrug
drinking from a flagon of ale. But you call out to her, and she doesn't seem to hear you. But another person comes over and takes your. She says, "Why, yes, sir. If you want us to bring something up to your room, we can do that. What room are you in?
I don't know.
Or do you need a new room? You need a room.
Yeah, I think I need a room.
Yeah, you guys, I think, were gone. You slept at least one night out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Wait, but did you do the whole week?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I think you don't only the day. That's my feeling. What do you guys think? Because you guys were pretty broke when you first got to town.
That makes the most sense, yeah.
All right. So I believe in the Roll20, there is a price list for what you could want for the rooms here, and I'll kind of read it out to. Let's see here. Inn of the Welcome Wench handout. And does this not have rooms on it? Well, shit. I actually literally have to tell you the prices. Fine. All right, yeah, so they're basically, you can rent like a suite for 5 gold pieces per night. It includes breakfast. There's like a little sitting room, an outer room, which is like a sitting room with table and chairs, and there's an inner room with like a huge feather bed, chairs, and a closet. Like it's pretty opulent. There's private rooms, which are like nicer private rooms, which like essentially includes food delivery, although you still have to pay for it. But it's like you get that extra care, like kind of like a turn down service, a bath. That is 2 gold pieces per night. And then there's a private room that has a bed and an extra table and chairs for 5 electrum per night. You can also do the common room if you want to do a common room. But if you're looking to get a room, basically 5 electrum is the cheapest you're going to get. Or 5 gold pieces if you want to go opulence with it.
Probably want the one with the bath, the cheapest one that has a bath.
All right, so that's 2 gold pieces. It's a simple room, but it's clean, it's nice. It's got a little table, some chairs. It does have a bath. There's a little wardrobe, not like it's an open wardrobe. So it's a place where you can hang your clothes, and it's got a little chest at the end of the bed. You know, you'd have to furnish your own lock, but you can still put some stuff in there.
That'll be fine. So it's like 2 gold for the room, and then you had like a thing here. And then I'll just have like the
Oh, you're looking at the menu.
yeah, like the elaborate supper and a mead.
All right, yeah, so the Inn of the Welcome Wench actually has a menu for those who are watching or listening, so you're not like totally out there. And it has all these various things. So you're going to get the, what did you say, the elaborate?
I'll pay for the elaborate supper and prepay for the elaborate breakfast to be delivered tomorrow morning.
All right, so that's pork loin stuffed with mushrooms, steamed sausage with roasted vegetables. One of those two. So pork loin or steamed sausages. What will it be tonight, Grey Ash?
I'll go for the pork.
All right, so you order some pork loin. You're gonna get, and are you getting it delivered to your room, or are you gonna stay down here and see what's going on?
I'm gonna go to the room. I don't want to be around this madness. Let the people that can deal with madness deal with the madness.
You go to your internal madness, the madness of wild magic, up in your room. All right, so you head on up, and the food will soon be delivered to you. What about Tuctrin? You're back. So you wanted to kind of pay a little attention to see what's going on. Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, so basically, everybody seems to be paying attention to what this one person's saying. So I'm trying to, just kind of like ease into the area, see what all the hype is about while I try to order some food and drink.
All right, so the older man who's sitting down and he's like, looks like an old farmer, but he stands up and like you kind of catch and he says, "Damn it!" He says, "I'm tired of these Burns Badgers or whatever they're called. They're circumventing the law." And you hear like a couple of people like in the crowd are like, "Yeah, justice," and stuff like that. It's like some of these men that they have added to their ranks recently are the very same men that been stealing from merchant shipments and stealing off our farms and messing with the honest people that live here." And you hear like a crowd, like another cheer, and says, "There's been just bringing them in and taking them on, somehow absolving them of their crimes. Well, that just won't do." And you hear, some people kind of like clapping and cheering in agreement. Go ahead and make a perception check there, Tuctrin.
Okay.
Just Tuctrin?
Just Tuctrin. Well, yeah, actually, whoever's listening, which I guess that probably JB and Grey Ash, you're probably not paying enough attention. So I'd say JB also.
So I failed. I rolled a 13. My perception is a 12.
I rolled a 5. My perception's a 17.
All right, so like you see Turgeon, the high priest of St. Cuthbert in the city or in the town. Like he's like, nodding his head in agreement. He's like looking at the people, like, making eye contact with locals that are like seem to be in favor of this and like nodding his head with them. Oddly enough, Elmo seems his son, the captain of militia's son, the old farmer Lars' son, doesn't necessarily seem to be supportive or unsupportive. I mean, he's like listening in, but he's not like, yeah, Dad, you're totally right. You know what I mean? He's just kind of like just sitting there, like his expression is somewhat unreadable. The innkeeper Ostler, you can see he's like shaking his head, like no, like he just is obviously in disagreement with this. And you can see like the miller Mitch, he's like kind of looking on. Maybe he's starting to kind of like change his mind about it. Like he kind of looks like he's undecided, but kind of leaning towards what's happening. He's kind of like he's nodding a little bit, and like maybe you can overhear him like say, "Oh, maybe he's right. Maybe you're right." Something along those lines. And then at that point, you guys are still listening. Anybody want to do anything, or should I continue?
Well, I'm just gonna keep listening. This is too interesting.
Yeah. So then Ostler says, Wait 1 minute. Hommlet has always been a place that is welcoming, that takes on those who are most in need, that allows for new opportunities. Yes, these men have made mistakes. It is true. And I have personally been affected by some of these very men. But we've all made mistakes. If you look back in our histories as to why some of us came to this town, it wouldn't necessarily always be for the most pure of reasons. Am I right? And he's kind of like looking around. He says, "You know exactly what I'm talking about, Mr. Johnson. Don't shake your head at me." Like, looks at him straight in his eye. He says, "I remember when you and your brother used to come in here when you were just teenagers." And he says, "I'm not saying if there's a killing or something that we shouldn't make sure we're questioning these men. But if we're talking about robbery, wouldn't it be better that they eventually turn their lives around and become part of a group that protects us, making amends for what they've done in the past?" And you get some other people are kind of like nodding in approval to that. And it's kind of going back and forth there. But now that you have all been sitting in this place for at least a little while, you make a couple of rolls. At about that point, a man from in the crowd goes out, moves up into the group, the circle, and he's kind of on the outside, and he leans down to Lar, the captain of the militia guy, who was like making the passionate anti-burn badgers attack. He leans down to him, and he like says something, and then he points across the room at Tuctrin. He points directly at Tuctrin and says, "Him!" And he points right at you, Tuctrin.
I stand up and I say, "What about me?" As I slam
He
the rest
says-
of the ale down and slam the flagon on the bar.
And he says, "Oh, as if you don't know." Says this man and his companions just sold some of those very bandits that we speak of to Burn. How much blood money did you get for that? To give away those who have attacked us and terrorized us over to Burn instead of to the justice of the militia.
Have you or your militia placed a bounty on these men? Did you step foot in the moat house to go collect them?
He says, we are but ordinary folk. We do not have money for bounties, and as you say, where some rich wizard comes from out of town and promises to line your pouches with gold, and so that makes it right?
Of course it does. What kind of foolishness is this? If you have an issue with the wizard buying your criminals, take it up with the wizard, not with me.
Actually, there's like a huge outcry after that. Like, there's like yelling back and forth. And it's kind of getting a little out of hand. But then Elmo stands up. Elmo, the son. And he stands at like his full height. And you're like, holy shit, this guy's big. He's like,
Everybody's big to me.
he's sick. No, but I mean, he's also wide. He's also wide. I mean,
Does he have
you
Elmo's?
are-
Can you do
are-
Elmo's voice? From
No, it's, yeah. I wish I could do actual Elmo's voice. Oh God, I'm not gonna even try. But
You almost got him. You almost got him, Nick.
You almost got me to try.
yeah.
Maybe in between sessions. That would really piss Frank off. So he stands up and he's like, but I mean, I will tell you, he's not as muscular as Tuctrin is. I mean, Tuctrin is the most massively muscular. Like he's in like the top 1% of muscular people. Tuctrin the dwarf, but he's big. He's like 6.5 feet tall, probably like 300 pounds. He's muscle and fat. He can kind of like, you see now as he stands up, like how he could get away, like looking like a sloppy drunk. If he leans over a bar and he's like, kind of crunches up his body, he would look fat. But when he stands at his full height, he just looks like he's a big muscular guy who has this like padding of fat. Almost like if you were to like think of an NFL like football player or like lineman, like a 300, like massive, but also like, wow, this guy's probably pretty quick on his feet too.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a weapon out of his hand or anything. He says, whoa, whoa, whoa. We are all still citizens of Hommlet. Let us calm down. He says, I've been listening here. My father, Lar, makes good arguments, as does our humble host, Osler the Innkeeper. He says, but it was something said by this dwarf who I must say should be our next step before we go any further in besmirching our own good names by accusing men behind their backs in a meeting at the center of town. We should be ashamed of ourselves. As the dwarf said, Mr. and he holds out a hand as like, I'm sorry, what your name is?
Tuctrin Boulderguard.
As Master Tuctrin Boulderguard says, we should take it up with Burn and Rufus, not amongst ourselves and raising a mob. You have to see there's like some shame on people's faces.
Yeah.
He says,
I
"It's
give one
worse."
nod in recognition.
He says, now, let us all calm down. He says, and let's have a drink.
Everyone calm down.
He says that, and he says, and to do so, next drink is on me. And there's kind of like a ragged cry through the people. They're like, yeah, and like, you see some of the people who are on opposing sides are like, yeah, kind of like sorry, man, I kind of was getting out of hand, and you know, they kind of come together. But you can tell there was some real fire in that argument between the notion of the militia versus the versus Rufus's group. I mean, Burns Badgers for sure. But eventually, you all get food and drink. People are milling about now. Some of the well, right after this happens, I guess, Turjon, Lar, Osler. Well, Osler has to get back to work. But Turjon, Lar, and Elmo and Mitch are kind of all like in little groups talking to people, sort of all like, you know, kind of just having these kind of conversations with people. So if you wanted to grab them, but it looks like they're for the most part sort of heading out of the inn. You know, to like basically go home or whatever. So if you want to grab one of them, you'll probably need to like actually make a move for it. Otherwise, food and drink can be brought your way. What would you like to do? Oh, and about this time, Brother Rygar and Ren show up at about the same time, just as everything is kind of like breaking up. So the two of you enter in, and there's like a lot of people. Like there's a whole bunch of. It's kind of weird because you walk in and like everybody's standing up. You know, like basically everybody after that all happened got up and started talking. So there's like the whole place is filled with people standing up talking to each other, and pretty much everybody has a beer in hand. And they're passing them out to those who don't have it.
As it should.
In fact, Ren and Brother Rygar, you walk in and a waitress with a tray reaches it out to you and it has beers on it, like cold beers on it.
I'll take one. We must have missed the party, Ren.
I actually smile a little bit more. Got my mug.
All right, so the rest of you, so you're all kind of together, but what would you like to do?
So I am going.
What the fuck is this music?
I don't know.
Yeah,
This is the
it's
danger
crazy
is
today.
over. We're just having a good time at the pub music.
Yeah.
This music is horrendous.
Yeah, this bard is terrible.
The bard is playing right now, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?" Everybody's finally paying attention. He tries.
This is
to
item shop in a JRPG music.
It's
Yeah.
so bad. This is just so bad.
This is like it's got to be like a halfling bard or like a gnome bard for sure.
It's a bard who's got really bad issues with understanding like tonal quality.
It sounds like 80s teen mom movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of Dust Till Dawn. Now let's go kill that fucking band.
All right, so so what are you guys doing?
So I'm gonna get a refill on my drink, finally get some food, and I am going to sit down and try to actually relax for a minute, kind of take in everything that's going on, and just eat this meal and then prepare to get cleaned up, try to get a good night's rest for setting back out tomorrow.
I'll just kind of bump into the dwarf as he's eating, maybe spill his drink and say, "Hey, what's going on? What'd we miss?"
Well, you didn't miss the opportunity. You didn't miss the opportunity to buy me a new drink. But other than that, you damn near you damn near missed a riot.
Oh, I'll motion a winch over and get him a drink.
Apparently, the townsfolk are angry at the wizards for buying criminals and adding them to their crew.
Perhaps they can come up with a better price and we'll get rid of them that way, or they should have the bounty on them.
I made a
Right?
similar suggestion. I think they're going to try a different approach. We'll see how that turns out. I find the way humans deal with criminals to be interesting.
I say as long as the wizards are putting him to work, then they're getting something out of them and just rotting in a jail cell somewhere.
Yeah, let's not forget that the people who are getting a second chance showed that they wanted to surrender and turn their life around, and
Yeah.
those who didn't are face down in a pool of their own blood back at the moat house.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, perhaps the next townsfolk that complain about it, we might drag them with us the next time.
And we'll pour them a nice cup of water.
See how they fare in the collection of criminals. And then I go back to eating.
So you try to go back to eating, but like as people are sort of like filtering out and even moving around, and the place is pretty full, like people are like, you know, coming up to you and they're like, they're kind of like nodding at you or giving you like a pat on the shoulder, or saying thanks for shaking us free of that, wise words, dwarf, and you know what I mean, like you're getting that kind of thing.
I take that all in stride. I actually don't mind it.
All right, so yeah, you don't get like a full relaxation, but people kind of come up to you.
That's okay.
And you do notice that Elmo, it appears, is kind of making his way towards you, but he's like, so many people are coming up to talk to him that it's like taking lots of time, and you have plenty of time.
Okay, well, if I notice that, I'll just, I'll take it all in stride and I'll roll with it. I'll eat when I can and just kind of, wait for him to filter his way over.
All right. And what about Ren? I mean, you got a free drink, but like, what are you doing, Ren?
Oh, I probably found a place to sit, and I got my face stuffed in some stew.
All right. So, Brother Rygar, you sit down then near Tucktrim as well?
Yeah, I'll order a fish dinner.
All right. And then JB. Well, what about you? I mean, you see Tucktrim and Brother Rygar sitting there eating. Ren is probably relatively close by.
I'm going to order the 7-course dinner and then join them.
The richest member of the party.
Hell yeah.
Listen,
I love it.
I've got money and I've had none.
Like, you're all like eating stew.
But I've never been so broke that I
and they're
couldn't
just
leave town.
out course after course of like this gourmet meal to JB as you all are like eating stew with a
mushroom stuffed with crayfish, a vegetable soup, greens, beef tips,
sounds pretty
poached
good.
trout, roasted goose, and seasonal pudding.
Roasted
Is that
goose
the
with gravy.
7 courses that he gets?
That's
it
the
is.
7-course meal, yes.
2 gold.
My lord. Oh, JB, you are enjoying your food immensely. I mean, there's nothing like surviving by walking the edge of that cliff. You know what I mean? And like you've made it back, and there's just something so savory about the food. Like it just tastes a little bit better knowing that you one more time dodged, death's icy claw.
This is the only time I really feel alive.
All right, so eventually, Elmo makes it over to you, Tucktrin. And Brother Rygar's there. JB, you're kind of like on your 3rd course at this point. Greyash is headed to his room. Ren, you're kind of probably you finished up food. You're listening to the bard play, and your friends are nearby. When Elmo comes up and he says, "Dwarf, I owe you a debt of thanks for your words tonight, because it should have been one of us who said such words long before it got to a night like tonight. I'm glad that you were, as an outsider, and just allow me to thank you on behalf of a town that probably won't thank you for what you have done in breaking up what was becoming a little more heated than I think it was worth feeling over."
I appreciate your kind words. So allow me to maybe impart you with one more piece of wisdom.
Hmm?
In the mountains, dwarves realize at an early age, as children, that echoes and voices carry very far, and the more cavernous the space, the farther it travels. So you're here in public with a large group discussing somewhat of a uprising, potentially, and that would bring your enemies to bear on you sooner. Perhaps in the future, any such plans would probably be best made in a smaller area, less public, with less people.
He says you're absolutely right. And in fact, Byrne and Rufus, along with the miller, constructed just such a building for private council meetings and public council meetings, but private council meetings, just as you say. But some of the members refused to set foot in it simply because of their opposition to Rufus and Byrne.
I would be more worried about them having magical spying in a building that they constructed and built for you to use.
He sighs. He says, I know Rufus and Byrne. They have their flaws, like we all do, but they've been nothing but a boon to this place, and they have a lot more support than it might seem. And he kind of glances over as Lar is kind of saying his final goodbyes, like his dad is saying his final goodbyes, and he looks over at his dad, and they kind of make eye contact for a little bit. It does not look like a friendly relationship.
Oh, well, I may not know much about this town, but it seems that the different factions operate much like rival clans. And it seems that a new clan has moved in and claimed territory, and they are constructing their fortress.
Well, it's the golden rule. Whoever has the gold makes the rules.
There is much wisdom in that. But they may make the rules, but sometimes it takes more than gold to get people to follow the rules. And that other thing is typically violence. So I would just warn caution moving forward with conversations like this. Or not, it's completely up to you. I probably won't be here long enough for it to really have any effect on me. You humans seem to... Your timelines of humans is fast. Maybe it's because of your short lifespans. I'm used to... Clan wars could take decades to brew. Humans, it could fire off in a single night.
He says, you speak truth. I think that there is, because of our shorter lifespans than yours, perhaps there is an urgency that things happen and change and things be done. He says, I have that fire in my belly as well, but I think now that there are far greater concerns than infighting. In fact, I wonder if it's not the influence of something much darker, something which I believe you have been recently acquainted with. And he kind of raises an eyebrow.
I believe you are correct.
He says, you and your companions have proven yourself to be strong if you've made it back.
We have made it back, and we'll make it back again. There's much more to do. I'm here to find my lost dwarven companions, or clansmen, and some here seek gold, others seek fame or fortune or mysteries of magic, but we all have a driving force that will keep us returning. It keeps us bound together. As you say, that fire that you have inside yourself that I can see, we all have it in ourselves, maybe directed in different directions, but the same fire nonetheless.
He says, he laughs and he says, I don't think that your former companions Cobert and Taruko have the same commitment to going back time and again.
Well, they
Kind of
weren't
laughs.
they weren't companions. More like, what would the appropriate word be? Parasites?
Parasites.
Yeah.
He said-
yeah.
He says, he says, well, it might interest you to know that the two of them snuck into the rooms the other night, got themselves quick out of town. Not sure what the deal was, but they weren't saying many fond goodbyes.
Well,
If it matters to you, they headed north
it does in a certain manner. And
on way to Verbabunk.
I'm sure we'll run into them in some shape or form in the future. Those
The
types
final-
seem to turn up often.
Final session of the campaign. Cobert holding the bloody blade in hand. No.
Yeah, we got to fight a wyvern. They're riding the wyvern. We're like tons of bitches. I look at him and Elmo, do you know the tale of Clangeddon?
I know bits and pieces. I've heard of Clangeddon, of course. There was a group of dwarves, which, as you, and I wondered when you said that you were searching for your companions. There was a group of dwarves which, many months ago, came through Hommlet briefly.
Yes, those are the ones that I searched for. I believe they were in search of some hidden temple in this area that houses great evil. Or at least that's the tale that was told to me.
You speak of the Temple of Elemental Evil to the
That
north.
is to the north. Everything seems to be to the north of Hommlet. There must be some significance to that.
He nods. He says, well, he says, hold on. I want to give you something because you're role-playing this so well. Let's see here. He says, he looks at you, like, kind of looks you in the eyes, then he looks over at Ren and JB sitting there, like, right now, probably, like, eating some, like, I don't know, sucking down some oysters or something, like, for his fifth course. And then
I'm
brother
savoring my bruised beef tips.
Brother Rygar licking the last of the broth off of his wooden spoon. But he looks over at the group of you in all seriousness and he says, I don't think that you're ready for such a challenge, but when you are, if you need a friend in Nolb, don't be afraid to ask for Otis, my brother.
Otis of Nald?
He is of Hommlet, but right now he is doing good work in Nulb, which is a nest of corruption and vileness.
And he is your brother?
Yes, and should you approach him, take care of his safety. He's speaking very low right now. He says, none would know of his relationship with me or alliance with forces who would see good prevail in this against this darkness.
I'm gonna lean in, lower my voice a little bit. All due respect, we had to take care of one of our companions who betrayed us. How will we know if your brother has not succumbed to the corruption you talk about in Nulb?
Living on the edge. Make another charisma check on that one.
The music just then was so perfect for that question, by the way.
We got lucky.
The
Charisma
timing
check,
was
you said?
amazing.
Charisma, yeah.
3.
Oh,
right.
dude, that's a great
Yes.
check. He looks at you, and at first, like, there's this kind of like, you see this like flare of like fire in his eyes when you kind of insult the integrity of his brother. He says, there's something about you. He says, I wish I would be insulted, but if I'm being objective, seeing it from a place that you're bringing me to, there's no certainty, no way I could be certain entirely that he wouldn't. But in my heart, I believe that he would not have succumbed. But you're right to be cautious. Cobert and Taruko, of course. You must be speaking of, well, Spuck Noir's sitting over there moping into his beer, so you must be speaking of the one Zert.
Yes.
He nods.
Yes, I just spat on the floor.
He said, did he perish?
Yes.
Oh, he perished.
He says, interesting. He has a room here that he's been renting. He's paying a month in advance. He says,
He nearly took
Hang
the
on.
life of one of us.
hang on a second. And he steps away for a second, and he goes over to he goes over to Osler, and he talks to him like rapidly. And then you see Osler kind of look over at you, the innkeeper, and he nods, and then he pulls out like a ring of keys, like an old-timey ring of keys, and pulls one off and hands it to Elmo, and you can see Elmo kind of like raises it up and gives like a head wave and thanks, and he says, and he comes back to you, back to your group, and he says, might be worth checking out what's in that room. And he stretches the key out towards you, Tuctrin.
I'll take the key from his hand. And who was it that refresh my memory because it's been a few weeks now?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Who was it that he had on the ground that Zert had on the ground?
Oh, he had
No.
me on the ground.
Yeah,
Yeah,
JB.
no.
Yeah, JB.
JB.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was okay. I wasn't sure if it was you. Okay, all right. So I am going to turn and look at JB. I'm say, JB, I believe this honor would be yours.
I take the key.
And then I look over at Elmo, and I pull out my axe, my holy axe, and I set it kind of blade down on the table. It's still got a little bit of blood on it, and I start to say a few dwarven runic incantations, and I'm going to cast the Blessing of Clangadin on Elmo.
Woo! Nice.
So I'm actually going to cast the first level spell Bless on him.
All right, yeah, you can see he kind of like flexes his muscles a little bit as like the well, why don't you describe, what does it look like?
So what happens is basically, you know, as pretty much with most holy weapons, it kind of gives off a little bit of light as I use it as a holy symbol to cast the spell. And he does Elmo have a beard?
No, he's mostly clean shaven. Like he's got like a little bit of scruff, but
So now he has some silver stubble, and it kind of like comes in a little bit. Just, you know,
love
just
it.
kind of,
Yeah.
it kind of comes down a little bit for the duration of the spell, and he gets that little mini kind of beard going on.
Yeah, maybe he's got like a it looks like it's grown like a week's growth, you know, and like right
Right.
away.
Right. As I see that fire that's inside you, Elmo. You seem like an honorable person. I think Clangadin has agreed with me. Perhaps you'll accept his blessing and maybe learn more about him in the future.
He says,
You
I'm
may
honored.
not be a dwarf, but maybe you're worthy.
He said, I'm honored, my new friend. And he puts his hand on your shoulder, and then he leans in and he says, but it is a bit itchy. And he scratches at the beard. And he says, I must head back to I have other duties, but it's nice meeting you. I'm sure I'll see you around here and there. Please don't hesitate to ask for me if you need any help.
Similarly.
All right. And he heads out.
Yeah, well,
shit.
I'll
Did you want to do something, Ren?
Well, I want to ask
Someone-
him about the Wyvern.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Part of the council. The council's right there. It's like, hey, the Wyvern. You can
That's
pay us.
crazy.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
that
stop him
thing,
before he goes in
afterthought.
the door and just kind of
Yeah.
listen for, is our commission?
Oh, he turns to you and he says, and you kind of just, so you explain to him about the wyvern situation.
Yes, and the egg bit that the wizard.
So you recount basically exactly what Byrne has asked.
Pretty much.
He says, ordinarily, if it were, he says, I understand why you couldn't do this out of the kindness of your heart, but we have little to offer you for killing such a beast. He says, I might be able to get 1,000 gold coins if you were to be able to bring this beast to bear from the council. No doubt, if you can bring back something that signifies why it was so terrible, something they might see, head or tail, perhaps then that might make the handing of the gold over a less tight grip when the time comes, if that makes sense.
Okay. I nod and see if he knows anything about the ones that were sent out to investigate, not come to back. They didn't come back?
No, they never came back. Yeah.
Did they commission them?
He said, we did not commission them. No, it was a couple of adventurers, too heady for their own good. Says, we have a lot of adventurers come through, and I'm ashamed to admit that I never even got their names.
But you don't know the motive of what they were doing? Or they just...
They were
like,
treasure
they just-
hunters,
Yes.
like
but,
many monster killers, hoping to get some glory and gold from it, usually in the opposite order.
Okay, then I dig deep in a little bit if he knows any kind of location. How far up north?
Yeah, he gives you a general area, like, to explore, that he expects it. You know, he's like, well, it wouldn't make sense on this side of the ravine where the river runs deepest, and here are some areas where there's many more caves that are less explored, farther away. Here's where the attacks were, and you kind of get a general area,
Okay.
you know, like, you know, he shows you actually, there's a map on the inside of the tavern wall that's like painted, like a painted map on the tavern wall, on the inn wall. And so he kind of like shows you, basically, you know, he gets some people to move out of the way, shows you on this map. And like you putting that together with your just sort of general like understanding of your, you know, your terrain of choice. Like you just know this kind of ground so well that you have a pretty decent sense as to where you need to go. Now, I would tell you this, you'd probably also know that, like, these kind of areas are somewhat dangerous. Like, you know, you're going for wyverns, but, like, there are lots of caves. It's not really a good area for, like, human habitation, so, like, creatures and monsters kind of like run wild, like, you know, like wild cats and you know, even some monstrous creatures that, like, you know, live and eat stone.
Yeah,
And
so this
and
is
live
a
in
place
the snow.
way off the beaten path.
Yeah, it's not that it's so far off the beaten path, but it's like, you know, like you've heard of like higher more seasoned rangers, for example, will get like hired out by like farmers or towns to go like rid the town of like of of a threat, like I guess you would say like an environmental threat, but like it doesn't. It could be natural or it could be magical, but usually it's like a twisted, kind of creature that they will go out and like dispatch of basically, and like it's almost always in a place like this. So like while this is just a wyvern that you're talking about, it's also kind of one of those areas where you wouldn't really be surprised if almost anything ended up like making a lair around here, or it's like it's not a place where people generally travel, so like something can sort of hide and grow and become a problem with nobody really noticing in this area. Whereas like in other areas, like if there's like if a baby green dragon appears as pictured behind Nick's image, they go and take care of it when it's that size, because like they're kind of traveling the area, so like everybody knows where it is and they have like adventures and stuff. But here on the frontier, not as much. So like even beyond the wyvern, you think this is kind of a dangerous trip.
Okay.
But yeah, eventually, he kind of gives you all the information you can get, and
I thank
he shakes your hand. You get the sense, actually, after talking to him, that he's also a ranger.
Oh, cool.
He's more of an urban ranger, so like he spends his time in towns and stuff like that. But he is, so he kind of does a little bit of sort of the druids stuff in a lot of ways, where like he makes sure that like hunters hunt they're not decimating the population, and
no poaching.
No poaching. He's kind of like that type of ranger that basically bases himself in a town.
Mm-hmm.
And then it sounds like he gets involved in more behind the scenes things too, potentially, although he doesn't really talk to you about that. There's too many people around, and anybody could listen in, so
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, he gives you a handshake and heads on out, and gives you the same thing. If you need any help or come and visit me. He actually tells you where he lives. He gives you his home, not address, because it's not like really an address. It's like the last house at the end of this road, and you'll see the red windmill on the gray water tower. And he heads out. So do you want to go in and try to explore? We're getting pretty much to the end of the session. It's been a fun roleplay session. I hope you guys have enjoyed it.
Definitely.
But we're getting kind of to the end. Do you want to maybe finish off with exploring Zert's room?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I just wanted to make sure I introduced myself to that high priest before he left.
Oh yeah, sure, for sure.
But go ahead with the room.
Hmm.
Sounds
Let's
more
do the high
interesting.
priest real quick, because I want to end on the room. I think the room is really cool. It will be fun. Everybody likes it when you get treasures. So the you go up to the high priest, and he's an older man, gray-haired, sort of like around the edges, human. But he's still got this magnificent blonde mustache. He's like in peak condition. And like I said, he's wearing plate mail in the tavern, and he's wearing it like it's nothing. He has the the cudgel at his side. Like sort of this grand cape that looks like it's been patched like 100 times, but like expertly patched, like somebody that takes really good care of his equipment. Like all of his stuff looks like it's not ostentatious, but it's spotless, and he sees you approach, and he says, and he kind of looks down at you and instantly recognizes your markings. Brother of Nola, I see.
High priest of Saint Cuthbert. It's a pleasure to meet you.
He
One of
says
your priest Calamar told me that I should introduce myself to you.
Ah, yes, a good lad. He does good work. He says, yes, my name is Sturgeon. Calmer has been helping me as I transition into taking over for the church. Canoness Side recently unexpectedly left. I was sent down here in a sort of emergency, all hush-hush kind of thing. He says, I don't concern myself with those who are operating on the higher chain of command, though. I consider myself a knight in defense of this place, and that will be my primary concern, not these other tactics. I have been sent here, and I plan on doing what's best for this town and this village. And he kind of looks across at his Elmo as he's like leaving. He furrows his brow at Elmo.
You don't care for him?
He says he believes going soft on criminals is the way to get things done, and I don't believe in that one bit. These people have hurt and traumatized people. Just because they make a life better for themselves does not mean that those who have been harmed don't deserve restitution. They should be exposed to justice and forced to repent and pay for their crimes. It's an aberration that in a town of law, this is allowed to go on. He says, with all due respect to your dwarven companion, he says, I would have hoped that someone follower of Nola would have more respect for law.
Oh, I do respect the law. But I also work with it, and the need arises to take care of these bandits, and we took care of them. It's just depends on who we went to first, I guess. But I mean, we could kill them, which I don't prefer, or we could bring them here, put them to work. Perhaps you should speak with the wizard at the tower and say you want a few of those men to do hard labors. I'm sure arrangements could come about.
He says, oh, don't you worry, I intend very much to do just that. As I was not in favor of this meeting without inviting them either. That is one place where I do agree with Elmo. He says, but I have no problem voicing my opinion. I've been here for the last... He says, St. Cuthbert has drawn many in this village out of destitution and the dark shadow which lain over Hommlet in the years just after the temple rose to power a decade ago. He says, we will not be pushed around and overstepped in our dealing of the law in this town.
Well, I do plan on spreading Nola's light throughout this area to rid it of its evil, and you'll see more of me around. But I have learned one thing, that in order to do this, it takes money, and I'll get the money the way we need it. And sometimes it's just however the money spills towards you, you grab it.
Oh, he looks at you like his eyes like slit at you, and he just looks almost like he's just got like this tight-lipped. You know, I mean, how tall are you?
I am around 6 foot. Yeah.
All right, so he is 6
no 5'11". 5'11".
Right, so he's 6 feet. He's basically the same height as you, and he just stares dagger in your eyes, and he says, "Good day, sir." And then he just kind of like pushes past you, like he doesn't like, you know, shoulder check you with his armor, but he definitely doesn't he doesn't avoid you.
I give him all the courtesies of his station as he brushes past.
He's got you can tell he's certainly higher than his
his
lesser.
I don't have etiquette, but I do give him all the courtesies of his station.
Yeah, well, I mean, just the basics of it.
Yes.
All right, all right. So then who wants to go up to the room and loot?
I'm leading the
That
way.
basically is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah,
we're
I'll
going.
join.
That's okay. Zerk's not gonna need it.
I don't see why we don't ask for this room for the rest of the month. It's paid for. Someone should use it.
We have the key.
That's right.
It's a suite.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure you guys can find somewhere to sleep.
Wait, hold on a second. Well, let me see. Actually, I think it's a suite. Let me see. Got the map. Where's 6? Dude, it is a really nice room. It's 10. It's basically 20 by 15. It has a fireplace in it. Like the chimney runs through the room and it has a fireplace in it. It only has a single, big bed basically, but it has a table and chair. It has 2 tables and chair sets. So you could definitely set up in here. Anybody who wants to. But mostly you notice that at the okay, so you enter into the room, you head up to the room. Well, okay, you've got the key, JB. How do you approach?
I'm gonna walk in, unlock the door.
All right, so you unlock the door, you walk in. The place is a mess. There's shit everywhere. It's like
Does it look like he's just
total mess?
Does it look does it look like he's just a messy guy, or does it look like it's been gone through?
It looks like he's just a really messy guy.
Oh,
You know how he had this like persona of like well put together guard? It looks nothing like that. It's a total mess. But looking around, you can tell because you saw Zerk plenty. You can see this is his shit for sure.
Not anymore.
You see, there's like a wardrobe that's like open there, and there's the little table right next to it, and there's a pouch on the table which is like laying there, spilled open, and there's like some coins on the table. But there's also a saddle. There's saddlebags on that same table. And then there's just like a pile of clothing in the cabinet. I mean, in the wardrobe. So, what'd you like to do? The bed is unmade, of course.
I'd like to take our time and go through all of it. Everyone who's up there, who came up there with me. I'm not claiming it all myself. It's the group.
Yeah, who's there? Who's searching?
I'm there. I'll take a look around.
Anybody
I'm
can be
there.
there that wants to be there.
Mm.
Well, really, probably not Elisar, but sorry, Adam. Sorry, brother.
Start with the saddlebags. That's my plan.
All right, so you guys are basically going to loot the place. We're past time, so I'm going to just go ahead and roll. Who is there? Rygar, JB, Ren, Tuctrin.
Yep.
Okay. And I will keep it in that order, and I'm going to roll D4. All right, so you're all searching through. So JB, you do kind of ultimately get to that pouch, which is basically right next to the saddlebags, and there's 20 gold pieces in that purse. And then in the saddlebags, there is another pouch which has 27 silver pieces, 12 electrum pieces, and 40 gold pieces. But Brother Rygar, you really find the mother lode. Underneath his clothes, just like literally under the pile of clothes in his thing is a set of scale mail and a shield and it's really good shit. Like, it's like perfectly filigreed, and like it's just like you don't even need to know anything about armor to be like, wow, that is a nice set of armor and shield right there. Like, they match. It's a medium shield and scale mail, and it looks like really nice stuff. Underneath, when you pick it up, like to kind of like pick up the shield, you see underneath is a coffer. It's a wooden coffer. There's a little lock on the front of it.
Bring her here. I could try to pick it.
Yeah. About how big is it?
Let's see here. We'll say it's probably about the size of a toaster.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. We'll take it to JB. Let him try to open it.
All right. I got 45% to open locks. Do I need to do any sort of modifier?
It's an even check, 45 or less.
Okay. 35.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Click, it opens up, and you see inside a bunch of coins, and there's a little bag of black pearls. 10 black pearls. So it's 265 gold pieces, 100 platinum pieces.
Wow.
And 10 black pearls. Anybody have somebody has the appraisal skill? Was that you, Nick?
Nick. Yeah.
Anybody has it can make a check and see.
Yeah, I do not have it.
Somebody has it in the group. You have to get that as your next proficiency, JB. You have to.
I do. I really do.
I have it.
Okay, go ahead. You want to see if you can figure it out?
I got it with
right
a 6.
Nice. All right, so the pearls are worth 100 gold pieces each, and there's 10 of them.
Nice.
Anybody has spellcraft or the wizards? Oh well, Grey Ash isn't there. Never mind.
I have spellcraft.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know this. It's a wizard thing.
Okay.
I was basically just gonna tell you that as a wizard, you know that you need this spell for identify. I mean, 100 gold piece pearl for casting identify. So yeah, that's it. The shield and the scale mail, and then all of the coins.
Nice.
Nothing wrong with that.
If the scale mail and shield won't fit anyone else, I'd like to take it.
I already have it.
I do have a set of scale mail, but it's used, and it might be better.
You put on the new. Do you put on the new stuff?
Yeah, I'll put it on. Yeah,
Fits
Yeah,
perfectly.
It's not
Like,
size
it's
for me.
It just fits perfectly. I mean, like you put it on, and it's like it feels like it was made for you. Like it feels light and easy to move in. Like it's really nice. And the shield, you just put it on your arm, and it's like it looked like, did they design the armor and the shield to be working together perfectly? It's kind of got this greenish look to it, almost like an oily green look to it. It's really nice stuff, though.
is it a buckler?
No, it's a medium.
Medium.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna finish there. You might want to split up the gold and treasure, however you want to do it, particularly since that will impact Pete's XP value. So I don't know if somebody wants to just do that really quickly. Technically speaking, you didn't do anything like defeat any monsters or anything like that would be for XP, but I think that was a really excellent role-playing session, so I'm just going to give everybody 250.
I get 200 for using my thief proficiency, open locks.
That's right.
Okay.
Cha-ching, 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 thief. Cha-ching, cha-ching, thief.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, poor David.
I don't know if you want me to roll for tomorrow morning spell learning or not. Because that'll
Yeah.
be the first thing I'm doing tomorrow. Is waking up with read magic and trying to
I
learn
mean, if
these
you
two
want to do
spells.
it, I think you get XP for
Yeah,
learning spells
it's-
too, if I'm not mistaken. So let's do it, and then you can get XP this time.
Okay, so I got 70% chance to learn these because they're not wild magic spells. But
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah, come on. You can still try to learn it when you gain a level, though. Again, so
Yeah, every level I can try and learn unless I burn these scrolls. So
And can someone
2D
remind me?
100s. I'm gonna go low. So if it's like one to
Oh, I trust you, dude. Just roll your dice.
1 to 69, I guess. 1 to 69.
Well, no, 70 to 1 to 70.
1 to 70. Okay.
Yeah, it's 70 or less. You have a yeah.
23.
Okay, awesome.
And 65. That was close.
Nice.
And what is
So I've
the-
learned hypnotism and armor.
Cool.
Well, so it's not spell successfully researched, is it? Right? It's not that if you copy it from a scroll,
No,
right?
it's not research. It's learning,
Using the
is it?
scroll essentially, right? Which is like or gaining the XP for the scroll, which is like 100 per spell level.
Isn't
is
there,
that right?
isn't there XP for like learning spell?
There's if you successfully research it, which is like you go to the library and shit and do all that.
Oh, weird.
I'm just gonna call it 100 XP if you learn a new spell. I mean, you guys okay with that? Does that seem fair to you guys? It seems fair to me. It's so rare.
Yeah.
Is anybody
Sounds good.
opposed to that?
That's cool.
Nope.
All right, then 100. We'll say 100 for
Oh.
each. So that's 100 per.
Okay.
Can someone remind me the exchange rate for the silver and electrum to gold?
Electrum,
Half
silver
gold,
is
right?
5 to 1. I think electrum is 2 to 1. Is that right?
Yeah, electricum is a half a gold.
Yeah. So 2 electrum equals 1 gold.
Okay, and we split the treasure 7 ways.
If you want to do the group fund.
Yep.
I'm doing the group fund right now. I
Mhm.
just want to make sure I counted right. I added up all the gold and what the gold equivalent would be. It's a total of 1,335. Divided by 7, we all get 190.71 whatever. So if we say we all get 190, and then any of the extra can go into the
Yeah, that works.
Gold.
Did you
into the group.
did you want to go ahead and take over the bank?
I mean,
Because I'd love for you to.
I mean, Pete the player doesn't
Everybody
mind.
gets 7 gold pieces. But how is that possible? Well, because 1,500.
Pete the player doesn't mind, but JB the character really doesn't mind.
I mean, I'm gonna say that if you put him in charge of the bank, JB one doling out the money to everybody. So that's up to you if you guys want to let the thief be the one who decides who gets the money.
Yeah,
But I,
not a good idea.
Okay, so how much was it per person?
Well, hold on, let me. It was
179 or something.
It was 190 and change. So let me do some real quick math because it was 1,335.
My
So,
priest side
190
Next
times
level.
6. 190
almost.
190 times 6.
Yeah, I'm
Okay, so
hoping you guys really should all be second level before you go to the second level of the dungeon.
I'm second level.
I am not.
Okay.
Did you
so
make it this
I'm
time,
not.
Nick? Or was
I made it last time.
Nice.
Everybody personally gets 190. The group fund gets 195.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not very good at the math part, but I can write it down and keep up with it.
That's cool. I got no problem doing the math for it.
Okay.
You can trust Pete. JB, buyer beware.
Yeah, I can verify both of those statements. Guys, that was fun. I mean, I know it was just role-playing stuff. I thought you guys would get more action, but actually, I really love that you guys are exploring some of the factions and the politics of the town, because they actually, I mean, this is a pretty long campaign setting adventure, and this stuff matters in the long run. So it's cool to, like, I don't know, like, for a DM, as for me as a DM, like, that's the kind of shit I feel like almost never gets explored. It was kind of fun to be able to do that, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Is everybody good in 2 weeks? We have holidays coming up, but I don't actually have any reason to keep off the 2 weeks. I'm not going away or anything, so
Let's see. Let me
Unlikely
check my
I'm going
calendar here.
Let's check a calendar.
I'm good in 2 weeks.
so 2
and
weeks is
I'm-
like what, the
that's the
14th,
15th.
15th?
Yeah, it
Since
should be
today is
good.
the
It should be
15th.
good.
So and then the final the final 2 weeks after that would be the 29th, which I know is between the holiday week, but I
am not available that day.
not available. Okay. We could also do a side thing or whoever can play, you know.
So the 15th is good for everyone, though?
15th is great. We'll do that as the next
Okay.
session. So, but yeah, okay, we'll talk about it in the Discord. And yeah, if everybody that's been listening, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Yes,
It's
thank you,
really
everybody.
appreciated. Leave comments and stuff, and we'll talk about your comments. But if you leave a
Absolutely.
shitty comment, you're gonna be a fucking legend on this show.
Yeah, it's just gonna keep getting better. It's just gonna keep getting better.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So with that, fuck you, Frank, and we'll see you guys in a
Thank
couple
you.
of
Fuck
weeks.
you. Bye.
All right, take care, y'all.